West Asia is on the edge. Continued cross-border fire between Israel and Hezbollah has now raised fears of a major escalation in the region. In the latest, Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system went into action in the wee hours of Sunday, intercepting a barrage of rockets fired by Hezbollah. A wave of rockets was fired near the border about 25 minutes after midnight. According to Israeli media, dozens of rockets had been fired from Lebanon into Israel. Hezbollah has said it launched dozens of Katyusha rockets at Beit Hillel in northern Israel. The Iran-backed group has claimed that its latest attack was in response to Israel's attacks on Kfar Kila and Deir Sarien in Lebanon. Hezbollah says the Israeli attack injured civilians there, but IDF says it struck Hezbollah terror targets in Kfar Kila, including terrorist infrastructure and military structures. The military has also claimed that earlier in the day, an Israeli aircraft eliminated a Hezbollah terrorist in Deir Sarien. Now, this comes after Iran said that it expects the Hezbollah group to strike deep inside the Israeli territory and not limit its attacks just to military targets. Iran is expecting the Lebanese group to increase its intensity of attacks on Israel. And all this after the assassinations of Hezbollah military commander Fuad Shukra and Hamas's chief Ismail Haniyeh. Israel's military says it is on a high alert against the anticipated response. Meanwhile, the US, UK are urging their citizens in Lebanon to leave the country on any ticket available amid fears of an all-out war between Israel and Hezbollah and also a broader regional conflict in the region. The US has told its citizens that despite flight suspensions and cancellations, commercial transportation options to leave Lebanon remain available. Jordan's foreign ministry has also issued advisory to its citizens, telling those in Lebanon to leave immediately and warning others not to travel there. Canada has also warned its nationals to avoid traveling to both Israel and Lebanon, saying that the situation can worsen any moment without any kind of warning. In the wake of the widely anticipated military response by Iran-backed forces and its proxies, several countries have suspended their civilian flight operations to Israel and Lebanon. German airline Lufthansa suspended flights to Beirut and Tel Aviv until August 8th and 12th. The United Airlines, the US Delta Airlines, the British Airways and the Swiss International Airlines, they have all suspended flights to Israel for at least a week. For more on this, we are now being joined by Colonel David B. Des-Roches. He is a professor at Near East South Asia Center for Strategic Studies, National Defense University, and he's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Welcome to World DNA, Colonel Roches. Now, Iran has warned that Hezbollah will strike civilian targets in Israel, and in the latest, Hezbollah has already launched dozens of rockets at Israel's Beit Hillel, which is situated in northern Israel. So clearly, Hezbollah is not sticking to its military targets. Do you think that the war right now has entered a new phase with a Hezbollah versus IDF face-off imminent?
Well, I think that the kind of rockets that Hezbollah is launching is towards the less capable end of their inventory and are rather easily intercepted by Iron Dome. They might be just trying to deplete Israel's interceptor inventory. But right now, this is not a significant escalation from what we've seen since October 7th. There's been frequent cross-border attacks, and the Hezbollah has not exclusively targeted military infrastructure. They have almost from day one. Whether it's deliberate or not, it's hard to tell because a lot of their rockets are pretty inaccurate. But they have targeted civilian targets before, most notably, of course, the soccer field at Beit Shams, which killed 12 Druze. So I think this is well within the common pattern of exchanges between Israel and Hezbollah.
Right, Colonel Roches, you speak of how this is a common pattern of fire exchanges between Israel and Hezbollah. But Israel at this point of time is fighting at two fronts, one with Hamas and one with Hezbollah. Do you think that, how do you rather assess Israel's preparedness while it is fighting on two fronts?
Yeah, well, they actually have to fight on more than that. They have to be prepared, and they're actively watching also for missiles coming from the Houthis in Yemen, from the various pro-Iranian militias in Iraq, and from Iran itself. So there are multiple fronts from multiple directions. I think that what they're doing is they have a pretty good integrated air defense network. They, I think, are capable of determining what threats are coming in and then dealing with different threats in parallel. So the kind of Katyusha rockets that are being fired from Hezbollah are a pretty commonplace and relatively easily intercepted assets for Iron Dome, which is based at low-level rockets and unguided missiles such as this. I think that they have other elements of their forces that are on alert for ballistic missiles, long-range ballistic missiles, such as the Iranian missiles the Houthis have fired, such as Iran had fired on April 13th. But again, that's not Iron Dome. That's a different system. And then I think that they also have forces on the lookout for drones that could come from whatever direction. It's challenging, and it will stress your system. And you can see human error take place, as you saw when the Houthi drone hit Tel Aviv. But overall, it still seems to be relatively efficient.
Colonel Roches, back in April, Hezbollah took part in retaliation strikes against Israel with Iran, with Hezbollah already launching strikes at Israel, rather. Do you think that Hezbollah will be a part of the simultaneous retaliatory attacks with Iran and its proxies, or it will rather chalk out its own separate attack?
Oh, no. Hezbollah is a creature of Iran, and when Iran whistles, Hezbollah jumps. But what's important to note here is that ultimately Hezbollah's main route and their more sophisticated long-range and precise guided missiles are reserved as Iran's retaliatory capability should Israel strike Iran's nuclear program. So that will remain in reserve. The other lower-end rockets and missiles, I think they will fire because all of the elements of the axis of resistance have to show their utility to Iran. There is a possibility of a Trump presidency, which will lead to the reimposition of maximum pressure. Iran will have less money to deal out to its proxies and to its agents throughout the Arab world. And I think that all of these proxies want to show their worth to their Iranian overlords, but also to the people who are saying, why are we putting up with all of this? So I think it's inconceivable that any element of the so-called axis of resistance will sit out a major confrontation with Israel.
Right. I also want to seek your assessment on the United States of America's stance. Again, back in April, the U.S. had said that it will not take part in any Israeli retaliatory action against Iran. And now in the latest, we are seeing America deploying ships and fighter jets in Israel's defense. So in your opinion, how do you assess America's stance on any Iranian attack against Israel this time around?
Well, the United States is committed to preserving the survival of Israel. And I think that the policy stands. I don't think that these assets would be involved in a retaliatory strike against Iran unless Iran targets missiles, say, at an American ship. I think that rather they are there to provide defensive capability, as they did on April 13th, should Iran launch a major strike from Iran into Israel. There might be some American involvement against some of the proxy elements, most notably the pro-Iranian militias in Iraq. But I think that the assets the United States has would be ill-suited, and the placement of them would be ill-suited for intercepting any Hezbollah rockets. I think that will be handled by the Israelis.
Right, Colonel Roches, thank you so much for joining us on World DNA with your insights.
Thank you.